Hello, students. Today we will start with Biology, Chapter 6, that is, the circulatory system. The first question that comes to our mind, that is, what do you mean by circulatory system? So, what will be the answer? The transport of nutrients, oxygen, and the removal of harmful substances like carbon dioxide and metabolic waste is carried out through blood by a transport system called circulatory system. So it is nothing but a transport system by which the transport of nutrients, oxygen and other essential substances is carried out, and on the other hand the removal of harmful substances also take place. So this is circulatory system. The circulatory system comprises of the heart, blood and blood vessels which circulate blood throughout the body, thereby helping in the transport of nutrients, oxygen and carbon dioxide. For this circulatory system, we need to learn the fluids present in our body. So, there are many fluids present in our body. Those are blood, tissue fluid or interstitial fluid, and lymph. So, what are they? The first point, that is blood. Blood is contained in the heart and the blood vessels of the circulatory system. These blood vessels are arteries, veins, and capillaries. Now, the next point, that is the tissue fluid or the interstitial fluid. The tissue fluid occupies the spaces between the individual cells of the body and is also known as interstitial fluid. So, the cells of the body, there are spaces between the cells of the body. Those spaces are filled with this tissue fluid. And the last one is lymph. Lymph is contained within the lymph vessels and the lymphatic organs where the blood cannot reach the end, like the end of the tissues. Okay, their lymph transport all those nutrients, oxygen, and it works as the circulatory fluid, or it is very important fluid in the body. In this slide, we will learn about the closed circulatory system. So, what is it? The blood flows through blood vessels and its flow is regulated by the heart. The heart, acting as a pump, pushes and receives the blood to and from the whole body through the blood vessels. That type of circulatory system is called a closed vascular system or closed circulatory system. So, in this closed circulatory system, what happens? The blood flows from heart to blood vessels and then to the body or to the cells, and again to from those cells through blood vessels into the heart. So the blood is not coming out directly into an open space. So as the circuit is a closed one, that is why we called it as closed circulatory system. Now, here open circulatory system. In certain animals, such as insects, the blood mostly flows through open spaces. This type of blood circulatory system is called an open vascular system or open circulatory system. Here, in this open circulatory system, blood flows from the heart to the body tissues without vessels. So, in this open circulatory system, what happens? There is no blood vessels. So, from heart, the blood is getting distributed all over the body directly in open spaces. That is why we call it as open circulatory system. If you look at this drawing, like the open circulatory system and the closed circulatory system, it will be easier for you to understand what is the closed circuit and how the blood is coming out directly into open space. Now, the most important one, that is heart, the pumping organ. So, what is it? The heart is located in the center of the chest cavity and weighs about 225 to 340 grams. It is enclosed within a protective double-layered membrane which we call as pericardium. So this pericardium has two membrane, one outer membrane and one inner membrane. Now the space between the two membranes is filled with fluid called pericardial fluid which protects the heart from any shocks or jerks or any kind of mechanical stress. The main function of the heart is to receive and pump blood and to keep it circulating in the body through blood vessels. These blood vessels are arteries, veins, and capillaries. Now, coming to the human heart. The human heart is divided into four chambers, two auricles and two ventricles. The auricles are the receiving chambers as they receive blood from different body parts. They are smaller and have thin walls. The ventricles are the distributing chambers as they pump blood into lungs and blood vessels that distribute the blood to all parts of the body. Now, ventricles are bigger in size and their walls are thicker. Now, we will learn about the structure of heart. As I told you earlier, the human heart is four chambered, that is, it has two auricles and two ventricles. Now, the auricles are right auricle and left auricle, and the two ventricles are right ventricle and left ventricle. So, these two auricles are separated from each other by a membrane or septum, whereas the auricles and the ventricles of each side they are separated from each other by another membrane or septum. Now, the auricle opens into the right ventricle and this opening is guarded by a valve which we call as tricuspid valve as it has three cusps or flaps. Similarly, the opening between the left auricle and the left ventricle is guarded by bicuspid valve as it has two cusps or flaps. These valves regulate the flow of blood in one direction, that is from auricle into ventricle. Now the blood flows from the right ventricle to the lungs by pulmonary artery and from the left ventricle into the aorta. This flow of blood from the ventricles is also regulated by a valve which looks like a crescent moon and that we call as semilunar valves. So these valves also ensure the blood does not flow back into the ventricles. Thank you, students. So this is the first part of chapter 6, the circulatory system. You have to go through the chapter while listening to this PPT, and the drawings are very, very important, especially the diagram of the human heart. It is very important. So go through the chapter, study well. Thank you once again.